It feels like every single conversation about AI right now starts and ends with one thing: job cuts, all this doom and gloom. But what if that whole narrative is blinding us to a much, much bigger opportunity? Okay, let's get into this, because the smartest people in the game right now, well, they're asking a totally different question.
And it all starts right here. Just check this out. The CEO of Whoop just announced they're hiring over 600 people. They're basically doubling their workforce, while at the same time going all in on AI. Now, this isn't just some optimistic press release. It's a massive, real-world strategic bet. And it perfectly sums up the debate happening in the boardrooms that really matter.
So here's the fundamental problem. For a while now, we've been asking the wrong question. We've been asking, how many fewer people do we need? Sure, it sounds smart. You can plug it into a spreadsheet, but it assumes the pie is a fixed size. The right question, the one that ambitious companies are obsessed with, is what can we do now that was literally impossible before? This ambition frame, as we'll call it, assumes the pie was never fixed at all. It assumes AI just blew the lid right off.
Now, to really get why this ambition frame is the winning move, we got to look at this core economic idea that's played out again and again throughout history.
It's called the Jevons paradox, and honestly, it flips this whole debate on its head. The idea is simple. When a resource gets way cheaper and easier to use, we don't end up using less of it, we actually use way more of it because a ton of new uses suddenly make sense. Right now, AI is making intelligence ridiculously cheap. So if this paradox holds true, the demand for human insight, for judgment, for creativity, it's about to absolutely explode.
And history shows us the pattern, clear as day. When steel got cheap, we didn't just build slightly more efficient bridges. No way. We built skyscrapers and railroads that spanned continents. When computing got cheap, we didn't just do our accounting faster, we invented the internet. The companies that played defense got steamrolled by the ones who built entirely new worlds. And that's exactly where we are right now with intelligence.
So, how does this actually play out in the real world? Well, let's dig into the first big unlock, which is all about a fundamental change in the speed of everything. Okay, so in the old world, a single bet on a new product could take, 3 months, 6 months? That gave you maybe 2, maybe 4 chances a year to get it right. The cost of being wrong was an entire business quarter, gone. And that's exactly why the default strategy for so long was just copy your competitor. True exploration was just too expensive. It was irrational to even try.
But now, imagine compressing that cycle from months into days. What happens when you can run 200 learning cycles a year instead of just 4? You don't just get a faster version of the old way of doing things. You get a completely new relationship with your customers and your market. You can test, learn, and adapt at a pace that was just science fiction a few years ago.
And that speed changes everything. The bottleneck is no longer execution. It's not about can we build it anymore. AI agents can pretty much handle that. The new bottleneck shifts to a deeply, fundamentally human question. Should we build it? And that means the most valuable people are the ones with great ideas, with deep customer intuition, with creative vision. The people who can come up with 10 solid bets a week, not the ones who can just manage one project for 6 months.
Okay, that first unlock, speed, is a game changer. But this next one, I think this one's even bigger. It's about who actually gets to create, and it's about to reshape our whole economy.
For decades, we've lived with this incredibly slow, expensive, and just broken process. Think about it. A doctor, a scientist, a logistics expert, they have amazing ideas for tools they need. But to make them real, the idea has to get passed through this painful chain of command, losing all its important details before it dies a slow death in some software team's backlog. All that expertise has been locked out of the creative process.
Well, that whole frustrating translation layer, it's gone. When a doctor can just describe a tool she needs and an AI agent can actually build it for her that afternoon, you unlock a totally new class of creator. We're about to go from tens of millions of developers to hundreds of millions of builders, solving problems we never even had the time to think about before.
And here's the really cool part. The stuff they build will just be better. Think about all the things that make software great. Solid testing, good documentation, security checks, all of it. These things used to be expensive add-ons that we'd often skip to save money. Well now, with AI agents, they just become standard. Quality is the new default. Which, again, forces the focus back to the most human part, the actual vision for the project.
So you've got this insane new speed, and you've got all these new people who can build. Well, those two things lead us right to our third unlock, a completely new way of thinking about opportunity itself. So here it is. The cost of execution, of turning an idea into a real thing, is dropping by 10, maybe even 100 times. And when something that fundamental changes, the entire financial rulebook about what's worth doing gets thrown right out the window.
And this just opens up a whole new universe of possibilities. That small, $10 million niche market that no big company would touch before, suddenly it's a great business. That super risky R&D project, you can now afford to try 5 of them instead of just 1. We can finally start to tackle these massive, unsolved economic problems, like truly personal education for every kid, or financial planning for the billions of people who don't have it, because they're no longer unsolved technical problems.
What this all means is that every company, by default, is now a platform. AI agents are going to find ways to plug into your systems whether you want them to or not. You don't have to spend a fortune building connections anymore. So the question totally shifts from how people connect with you to why they should connect with you in the first place. It's all about delivering real core value.
Now here's the thing. All of these unlocks, they're available today. This isn't 5 years from now. This isn't science fiction. It's happening. And that means the hardest part of this whole transition isn't about the technology anymore.
It's a people challenge. It's about figuring out how to retrain and upskill when the new job isn't just do the old thing faster, but do something completely new. It's about changing our mindsets as individuals, as teams, and yeah, as leaders. That right there is the defining challenge of our generation.
Because when you get rid of the cost of execution as the main bottleneck, the whole equation shifts. The new things that are in desperately short supply are all uniquely human. We were never really limited by our ability to build things. We were limited by the cost. Now, the only things holding us back are our vision, our ideas, our empathy, and our ambition.
So that leaves us with this final thought. The cost of making ideas happen is plummeting towards zero. The companies that are going to win in this new world are going to be the ones that can dream bigger, the ones that hire, not fire, because they get it. In a world of cheap execution, the most valuable resource on the planet is human ambition. The only real bottleneck left is you. It's what we dare to imagine.